Yes, sir. French, you want to intro us? Wait, is it recording there too?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
What's going on, folks? Welcome back to another episode of Fitness for Thought. French here with Nolan, and today we got a very special guest here. We're on his home turf. Here at Iowa Strength is Iowa Strength owner Chris Dunne.
How's it going?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for being here. This is your second appearance. Are you the first? You're the first.
First double guest.
Yeah, first double guest. So you should feel
So special.
To go.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, so it's been a while since, I feel like it was over a year ago, right?
Yeah.
A year and a half, maybe?
Yeah.
It's been a while since we had Chris on the podcast the first time, and it seems like every time I come back here, something's changed, but we got a little catching up to do. So, Nolan, do you want to?
Yeah.
Or do you want to say anything, Chris, to start off? Introduce yourself a little bit.
Excited to be here. I don't know. I'm no one special. I'm just a guy that owns a gym.
Well, that's what we aspire to be.
Exactly.
You guys probably have a pretty good idea of Chris since we had him on before, but I guess many of the things that I wanted to talk about were a lot of the conversations that we have like 5 times a week. Every time I'm in here, and we just go on like 45-minute tangents talking about stuff. But I just wanted to start off with something pretty relaxed. So, how's your training been as of late?
Good for the most part. I'm a couple months post bodybuilding contest. So I did the Natural Iowa back in May. So I got second place overall there. Took first place in the men's like Mr. Iowa, which is cool. Missed the pro card just by a little bit, but the guy that won was a better competitor and he deserved it. Training's been good. I've just kind of been battling a couple little minor shoulder pains and things like that, but not really pushing into the off season too much. I need to get just some blood work done and things like that. Just kind of make sure I'm healthy and before we kind of push into really increasing the calories and things like that. But training's going good and getting strong.
Yeah. What does that typically look like post show, like post competition? Is there a pretty long come down from training, getting back into things? I mean, mentally and physically?
Yeah. I mean, for me, typically, everyone's a little bit different when it comes to that. Actually, I have a video that I recorded already about this that I was going to put on my YouTube, but I haven't gotten around to editing it. So, I mean, there's a couple of different ways. I like to do what's called a reverse diet. So you guys both basically know what reverse dieting is, but so just kind of gradually increase calories, take a deload week, usually the week after the show, cycle off of stimulants because in a prep usually you're on quite a bit of stims from fat burners, caffeine, things like that. And then just kind of get back into everything and start enjoying life. I kind of had a couple free meals or cheat meals or whatever you want to call it post show, like maybe last like three days after the contest, I probably had a meal off planned here or there, but otherwise I basically went back like 2 weeks, back to my diet like 2 weeks out from my show, and just kind of went back to that and just got back on track after my few meals and try to keep it tight, try not to get too fat. Some people just go right into it though, full off season right away, immediately. For me, I just turned into a freaking water buffalo if I tried doing that.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's extremely healthy going from maybe a 1,800 to 2,000 calorie diet to 3,000, 4,000 calories right off the bat.
Yeah.
So
It's a big change.
yeah,
It's probably easier mentally too to just be somewhat on the same path after, so that, I mean, if you get a taste for some of those cheat meals after, then you might just start going off the rails a little bit.
it is, and like it's kind of we can swear, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of a mental fuckery too. So like you're at your
He asked
for
that
me-
last time too.
Yeah. So you're at your absolute leanest you've probably ever been or ever will be, for a bodybuilding show. And it's like, yeah, you want to enjoy a meal off or, spend time with friends, family. For me, it's definitely my wife, and trying to catch up and do things and almost make up for the lost time and try to make up for being selfish for 3-4 months. And then, but on the other hand, you don't really want to go back to, just looking like a turd.
Right.
Either. You want to try to stay lean, keep those shreds, and really kind of maximize, at least for me. So it's, reintroducing some of those protein or some of those carbs, some of those fats. Sometimes you might actually even look better for, the week post show just because you're fuller. And then you get really good pumps, really good workouts, things like that, and training increases. But
I remember this is kind of. I remember hearing Arnold talk about the first few years he would compete. He would notice he would look better the week after a show, and then the last few years, first few years he won the Mr. Olympia. Then the last few years he would purposefully go and feast before the show to give himself that full look. That's obviously, the game's changed a little bit, but that makes sense.
Yeah, and part of my issue is especially this year, I think one of the reasons why I didn't win was I came in flat. I took in probably, I think it was 300 or 400 grams of carbs the morning of my show, trying to fill out.
It's a lot.
For me, I get in my head, and a lot of competitors can attest to this. I get in my head, and I was like, I'm not lean enough. I don't want to eat too much. I don't want to spill over. I don't want to look too watery or anything like that. So I did my own carb up a little bit. I kind of talked it over with my coach. And then he came down the morning of, he's like, oh, you got to start eating. And so they gave us candy and gave us all this stuff in our goodie bags when we was registered for the show or checked in. And I was eating the candy. I was eating oatmeal. I was eating rice. I was just trying to get as much carbs in as possible. I think the main issue that was though is I was just waved at him.
You're good.
I think the main issue that I had though was a lot of the carb sources that I was using were slower digesting. So I had the oatmeal, I had brown rice instead of white rice or jasmine rice. So those carbs I was eating, although they were dense, they sat in me and digested a lot slower. So it made me feel a lot fuller. And then so I was getting to the point where I was eating and I was looking better and better, but my stomach is getting full. And I was nervous that I was going to have trouble controlling my stomach.
Oh, yeah.
I was nervous that it was going to get bloated. And so it was just kind of 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. So I kind of had to pick and choose. And
So do you think it would have been better just to eat more strictly sugar, candy, and simple, just junky foods like that, just because they're usually less voluminous? What do you think?
I think there's a fine line. Definitely when I ate a couple small fun-sized candy bars, it definitely made me pop right away. But also, you get that insulin spike, you get that pop or that increase. So yeah, you might look better on the short term, but then once you get out and start posing and start sweating, you're going to sweat it all out right away. And I'd be afraid that I would look really, really good and then I'd flatten out anyways. So I think a more moderate or maybe even a blend of carbs would be something that might have been beneficial for me. So I think, candy definitely isn't the solution.
Yeah.
But I think where white rice, jasmine rice, something a little bit faster digesting, but not, super, super high glycemic like sugar would be beneficial. But
And how does liquids play into that? Because I know some people on the morning of their show, because I don't know if you do a water load, and then I know some people they're really conscious of how much water because they don't want to feel bloated. They're just kind of sipping it as they need it. What's that like?
So I did a water cut a little bit for my first show. So basically, if I remember right, I think the Sunday or Monday before my show, I think I was drank up to 3 gallons of water a day.
It's a ton.
It was a lot of fucking water. And then as the week progressed, my water consumption decreased, my carbs increased. Basically, carbs and sodium pull water into the body. You guys know this. So the more carbs that you bring in, the more water that's going to be pulled in. Well, hindsight, if you're lean enough, the water isn't really going to get stuck between, your muscle and your fat, or between your muscle and your skin, if you're lean enough. So there's no fat there to hold it in. So really, when I do it now, or more recent years when I've done it, we basically just keep everything pretty consistent. The water usually stays the same. I don't cut water. I don't really load water. I keep my sodium as high as I can possibly stand to do it. And then my carbs are usually fairly moderate throughout the week and usually bump up a little bit towards the end, close to the show to help fill me out. So.
Okay. Because I was kind of curious if like drinking like Gatorade or some like sports drink with a lot of sugar would have any impact, but is it kind of like the candy bars where it's gonna be short lived?
I think it would. So I didn't have any Gatorade to drink before my show. If I did, I definitely would have drank it. I had some essential amino acids, EAAs, which had some sodium, some potassium in there. So I was actually drinking a ton of that instead. So I really think that did help. But I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think Gatorade could definitely be beneficial, though.
Yeah.
I guess another question I had was, how many times, I mean, there's probably a physical limit and preference to how many times a year you can compete, whether it's like 2 or 3 or once, but mentally, like, what is that like for you having all these other responsibilities, especially as a gym owner? Because like you talk about like the week after the show, cutting stimulants, like I know when I cut stimulants, it's on my deload week, and I hope that I don't have anything going on that week because mentally I'm just bogged down.
Yeah.
You don't really have that liberty because you have so many other things to do.
Yeah, I mean, it was this time around was a lot different just because I was solely just working for myself instead of having to work a 9-to-5 job, run a business, and everything else on top of it. But see, you asked a couple questions. So, for me, it's a lot of responsibility. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's I chose to do it.
It's your job.
And yeah, I mean, if anything else is going to be beneficial for my business when I compete. As far as the number of times that a person can do it, that's really up to them and their body and how fresh they are going into it. I think in 2020, I trained pretty much or prepped almost all of 2020 for what was supposed to be 2 shows. One of them got postponed, and then I ended up dropping from it just because they didn't have a date determined. And I wasn't going to hold like basically, my contest shape for weeks on end because that's not good for anyone to do, especially, below 5% body fat.
Right.
So I basically trained for 2 shows in 2020. There are a lot of people though, like and I almost did it myself. There are a lot of people that if they don't maybe get the placing that they wanted to out of one show, if there's another one like a week or 2 weeks after that, then they might jump in and do that show as well, hoping for a different result. And I almost did that after my show this year, but I just decided I called it off. Like I had other things planned, I had other things set, in stone, and I just didn't really want to keep pushing it back. And my wife was very supportive, thankfully. Big shout out to her, but she told me that if I wanted to, she would be there with me and support me. But at the end of the day, I just decided I'd call it. I didn't really want, for me personally, I didn't really want to do a second show and risk getting the same result that I did previously. I just kind of wanted to start over and go back to the drawing board.
Right. I know French was going to ask you about the difference between the 2020 and recently you having a little change in your 9-to-5. I know French wanted to ask about that.
Yeah. So before you were working, a regular probably 40-hour work week plus the gym on top of that, and then you were able to step away from that. How have things changed being able to focus solely on the gym and not quite having to worry about that? Is it more stressful, less stressful, just a different type of stress? Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, it's a little bit both. I mean, I was kind of to the point where I knew I was going to have an end date with my former job just because the headquarters is being relocated, and I opted not to go along with that transition. In the end, though, it was kind of time for me to leave just a little bit early. Probably by about a year or so, just mainly because of a lot of things that were going on there. I was actually working closer to 50 or 60 hours a week.
Oh, wow.
About 7 days a week. I'd wake up, stumble down to my office at home, 5 o'clock in the morning at work until 4:30, 5 o'clock. I'd come to the gym and try to do something, but you can only have a few hours, and then I usually go home, try to see my wife, eat again, and then go back to work for maybe an hour or two. So I really think it's been a big benefit for many things. Business has definitely grown in the last year since I've been doing this full time. I feel like I'm able to develop better relationships, not only with my customers, because I'm seeing customers that I usually didn't see before because I'm here at different times I wasn't previously. But I feel like I've been able to build better relationships with my employees as well, instead of showing up maybe 2 hours after their shift started or leaving early or this or that. I'm actually able to be here and be more hands-on with a lot of things. Definitely been able to improve on some things that I kind of felt like I was neglecting previously as well. So it is still stress. It's kind of about how you handle and maintain that stress. Nolan and I have had a conversation off camera about that. Is it more? Is it less? It's a little bit of both. It's more pressure, I feel like, because this is my primary source of income.
Yeah.
And I don't have that safety net of a day job to fall back onto. Nor do I ever really want to go back to working a 9-to-5 or to someone else. But I will if I have to, but I don't see that happening. It's at first it was like when I basically resigned, I kind of had one of those moments. I'm like, oh shit, I actually did that. I know what I wanted to pay, knew I wanted to pay myself. I just didn't know where the money was going to come from. Because a lot of the money that I made in the gym, I reinvested back into it. I only paid myself about, I think in total, maybe like a couple $1,000s over like 8 years that I've worked here. So it wasn't much.
But I think that's pretty evident. Sorry to interrupt you, but I think that's pretty evident if you're a member here for more than a couple months, because constantly there's upgrades and new additions and even just reorganizing stuff. It's very evident in how things look around here.
For sure. You see the evolution for sure, especially from your first location.
Yeah, definitely.
From that.
Yeah, and even after I started doing this full time, like, fortunately my wife, has a great job and is very supportive. And I basically went a couple 3 months without really paying myself after I went full time. And because I just wanted to be able to start, continue to build up cash flow and things like that, and really figure out like what my position in the company was going to be, like what my routine was going to be, and how I really want to structure a full-time salary for myself and things like that. So, but, yeah.
Yeah. So you talked about kind of the pressure of being, because you have a job, put in the hours, you get the paycheck every 2 months, pretty much, or every 2 weeks.
Yep.
And now it's kind of all on you, and you're also responsible. You have a few employees, you're responsible for paying them.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, is it more? Obviously, it's pressure. Is it like, does that motivate you? Does that scare you a little bit of both? How is it like waking up in the morning and being like, yeah, I get to do what I want to do, but at the end of the day, it's all on me. I got to make things happen.
I feel extremely fortunate to be able to just wake up and literally do what I want to do. Like, how many people can actually say that they're living the life they want to live, that they are basically doing something, everything that they're doing is on their own terms, and basically everything that is going on around their life they built. Like, I'm super fortunate. I've had a lot of help in this, obviously. Like, I had, a business partner that I originally started this gym with, and he was great. Unfortunately, he's no longer with the company just because of, he had a lot of things going on, a lot of irons in the fire. But it was just besides having something great to start out with. We have a ton of awesome customers, a big fan base. We have people from around the country that support us and follow us and message us, buy stuff online or whatever it is. So really fortunate. But it's definitely very motivating, because I know that I'm not the only one that's reliant on the gym. Like, I have employees that rely on what I pay them and the paycheck and everything like that. So we all kind of work together along with each other. So I'm more motivated to make sure that I can pay my employees than I am myself. So it's the kind of the way things go is the first thing that I do is I make sure that my employees are paid no matter what. So if we had a down month or down week or something, I'll at least like make sure they can be paid, and then if there's anything left over, then yeah, maybe I'll give myself a little bit. But there's been plenty of weeks and months and even years like that I paid my employees and I didn't pay myself. But so it's definitely a motivation there just to make sure that I'm aware that other people are relying on me. I mean, COVID was really evident to obviously we all kind of had struggles with COVID, but I had people messaging me like so frequently when we were shut down for that month and a half, basically saying like I missed the gym so much, that was my stress reliever, I'm lost, like I'm in a dark place, I'm in a bad place, and I was just like, hey, like I'm right there with you. Like, fortunately, I was able to work out here, but I was working out alone, so I wasn't in here with my people.
Right.
So it felt dark and empty.
Right.
Just alone, but so I mean, it was just like I think there's a lot of things that like I think a lot of people that even that aren't working here or obtaining a paycheck that still like are getting a big benefit from the gym. And it's super humbling to really think that we're able to make that kind of an impact on different people. So,
yeah. Was it a similar scare talking about transitioning from having a day job to full-time here? Was it a similar scare to when you started it? Or because I know you talked about when you started it was kind of like almost like, I mean, not to assume, but it was almost like a fuck it thing. It was almost like the guys you were talking, I mean, from the way you told me in the past, was it a similar scare, or was this scarier, or is it just you're kind of dull to that now because you've been running this for so long?
I think I'm a little dull to it in a sense where I take a lot of things less personal, and a lot of it is black and white. It's factual based instead of like it's still very emotional, but it's a lot of it's more. I make a lot of decisions and do a lot of things based more on facts and evidence versus on emotions and feelings. That makes sense. In the beginning, it was very, very emotional. It was passion, it was excitement. There was definitely nervousness, but I started this with someone else, so not all the pressure and stress was on me the whole time. So I felt like kind of had each other there, where it wasn't quite as stressful. It was a little bit more stressful for me to go full time. I feel like just because I felt, as a man and being married, I feel like it's my job to provide as well, to give back to the relationship and on a monetary way and time, things like that. But so there is definitely that pressure. But it was also nice because we already had an established business. We already have established customers. People returning into the gym to buy products, merchandise, renewing memberships, and staying with us. Versus in the beginning, we didn't have recurring income. We were just open the gym and just like hopefully people show up. So that was also really scary because we didn't know exactly where the money was going to come from, or how much money. I was like, cool, we're going to open up the gym, people were start coming, and like, I'll probably be able to get a job because that's how business. That's not how that worked at all. But so I mean, they're probably pretty even in a sense as far as like fear or scare or nerves or things like that. But it was different.
Yeah,
I think COVID was still probably one of the most stressful times.
Yeah,
like I lost days of sleep over that because that was like I first and foremost I made sure that none of my members were having to pay. I froze all memberships and paused everything. I had a few really good members that like refused to let me pause their memberships, so appreciated that. But like I didn't have like a month and a half, basically had hardly any income except for we were able to keep our nutrition store open because we're selling food, supplement products, which so that was kind of like a loophole there. But I bring in like big discounts, big deals, and stuff like that, just trying to get people in the door. Like really big dropping stuff off of people's houses and driving across town and all kinds of stuff. But so that was probably the most stressful part. I would say to date, but.
Would you say training kind of helps you keep grounded throughout? Because the entire process of owning a business, from what it sounds like, has to be extremely stressful. At the very least, just in the back of your mind at all times. Would you say training kind of helps keep you clear your head and keeps you grounded?
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
It does certainly now. Unfortunately, I'm able to schedule a lot of my personal, like a lot of my training when I have an employee here, which is nice. In the beginning, that wasn't a luxury I could afford. So when I would, previously, if I was working a 9 to 5, when I was at work, that's when it was time to train. That's also the business time of the day, or business time of the gym. So that's when I needed to be available to help customers as well. So that. For a long time, I don't want to say it was frustrating because I knew what I was getting myself into when I started the gym, but it was training wasn't as much of a stress reliever as it was like just trying to work out in between helping customers and stuff like that. There's also like a lot of distraction that came with training at the gym that you own. You might be working on something like, hey, this doesn't quite feel right. Oh, I see a loose bolt. You start fixing it, and then you forget that you're actually working out. Or you see that there's dirt on the floor, so you go clean something, like full towels between you do laundry between sets, and then it's like, shit, like what the hell is it doing? Like I was supposed to done workout like an hour and a half ago, so lifting. So unfortunately now I can pretty much shut a lot of things off, and just for that hour and a half, really focus on me. So now it is a huge stress relief. For sure, it always has been. It's even more so now, where it's just like that is my hour. That's my hour and a half. I no longer have to feel selfish about just nodding at a customer instead of actually having a conversation or something like that. So and everyone in here is awesome. They all understand like. They don't have the same feelings I do. Like it's just like I'm the one that kind of takes it a little bit more personal, and probably thinks it. Anyone else, any other customers or see me lifting probably and think like, cool, like Chris is out. For me, it's like I don't want to get in some way. Like I don't want to use equipment that someone else wants to use, things like that. So I try to step myself in order.
Yeah. Speaking of like small business owners, how do you, especially since you quit your job, have you made, or like over the years, do you make an effort to build relationships with other small business owners around the community, or are you just like too busy, or what are your, because I know like supporting each other's small businesses, that's a huge thing. Do you like try to build those relationships or go out of your way to like support other local businesses?
Yeah, I mean, like, do I do enough? Probably not. We've had a lot of support from just the community in general, especially small business owners. I try to do a majority, give a majority of my business to small business owners. Even if it's like hardware or parts or something that I might need, like random stuff. Like I'll go, to Hardware Hank or something like that in town and just really support people that have previously supported us or things like that. So yeah, definitely. Networking is obviously really important, especially in a small community. It's just trying to like pass things on. Like we do have a handful of small business owners in town that come here fortunately, which is awesome. And one of the businesses we have a deal with out where they get discounted tanning and things like that. And so we kind of work with other small business owners just kind of promote stuff. And anytime like this is someone new or I'm talking to someone they're looking for something, I definitely try to send them someplace local versus like a big store out of town. So I think it's just all of us working together is really important. I mean, I had the opportunity too. I served a 3-year term on as a board member at Chamber of Commerce. So our sole like objective was to support small business, shop local, and really try to put money back in the community that's supporting us. So
yeah, that's awesome. I know, especially during COVID, that was probably. Unfortunately, there was a lot of small businesses that kind of went under.
Yeah.
Thankfully, you guys made it through, but I know that's It's tough.
And people would purposely just come to the gym and just buy a protein bar and energy drink just to basically support us. And they would tell us that, and like we couldn't be more thankful for that. So, and it's something that my wife and I did during that whole COVID situation was we would go at least once a week. It is usually on a Wednesday night. After I leave the gym, we would go to like a local restaurant or something and just do takeout and just to kind of support them and try to pump a little bit of money back into our local economy too. So,
do you think that it's? I mean, obviously it's all in how you look at it, but do you think it's an advantage to be in like a somewhat smaller town so that you have a tighter knit sense of community? Because like, I mean, I don't know. I would say most people from Independence like are aware of Iowa strength, and so many people have relationships with it, as opposed to a big city where yes, you might get a little more foot traffic, but it's harder to develop that sense of community.
Yeah, I mean it goes both ways. So you definitely don't get the individual like relationship or rapport that you can build with when you have as many people coming in. And I experienced that after COVID when we were able to reopen back up. We had people traveling all over the country, or not country, sorry, all over the state to come in and work out because we were the only gyms open in the area. And we had people coming from Chicago, like up in Wisconsin, Nebraska, all over the place to come train here, which is awesome. But we had like 250 or more members for a small gym like us. That's a lot. Like we at the beginning, so that was in the middle of like summer 2020. In 2019 was when we first hit over 100 members. Like December 2019, we hit over 100 members. So we literally over doubled in size in members in like about 6 months, and it was overwhelming. But also on the other hand, it was like it made me feel bad because I met and saw so many people. I couldn't keep anyone straight. I couldn't remember names. It was just like you see one person come in, you see another person leave. It was just like it was a lot. So I do like the aspect that it can be a lot more personal. We are a little bit more close-knit community, very, very supportive group. I feel like there's always that small town stuff where I try to stay out of gossip and stuff like that. Right. You'll get gossip and stuff even in big towns, but like aside from the little small town stuff that goes on, yeah, I love it. Like, I wouldn't say everyone knows about the gym because I had a kid that came in maybe a month ago and he's like, bro, I didn't realize there was a supplement store in Independence.
Right.
It came up on my For You page on TikTok, and I'm like, cool, like, yay, TikTok. Like, I fucking hate TikTok, but it's a necessary evil, and I'm glad you found out about us. But like, the day of like just posting stuff on Facebook is kind of over. We have to continue to, market ourselves even closely in our community. It'd be nice to have like the increased revenue stream or foot traffic that we'd have in a big community, but then also in a bigger community, there's more competition. You have to take into consideration also your other overhead costs like rent and things like that are also usually going to be a lot higher too. So it's kind of a give and take.
Yeah, I know not to repeat the conversation we had a couple days ago, but I mean TikTok and just a lot of these emerging like ways of promoting yourself and your business are just becoming more and more prevalent now. Do you find that it's like really hard to keep up with that and to just even have a desire to keep up with that? Does it excite you?
Does it excite me? No. If I could, I would get off social media 100% and never go back. I'm an introverted person 100%. Yeah. Like when I'm in the gym, this is like my place. But like when I'm going to Fairway or the grocery store or someplace like that, like I like shut down, my head's down. Yep. I don't look at people. I try to make eye contact, and then usually like I hope I don't come off as an asshole, but I'm just assuming I do. But it's not that I don't want to talk to people; it's just because I kind of have like some social anxiety. So like. It's always doing the social media thing and being in front of the camera is always a struggle for me. It's a lot easier after doing it for 8.5 years, of course. But it's one of those things. It is very, very hard to keep up with the trends. The other thing that I think that I struggle with is just not sometimes come up with content, but also just like the desire to want to. Like there's times I'll just be mentally over it. Like it's just like I need a break from social media, just like anyone else. Where I've really cut back on the amount that I post on our gym's page and even my personal sometimes, but also like I have some personal obligations with companies and stuff like that I'm supposed to be posting every day or posting weekly or monthly or whatever it is, and so it's that thing. It kind of just become exhausting, and I feel like the biggest thing that's almost a frustration is everyone's a fucking influencer now. Everyone knows the exercises that you have to be doing. Any person that's, and I'm probably going to offend some people here, but every motherfucker that's lost a little bit of weight now is like some
Now an expert.
Instagram TikToker. They can sell their programs and advice.
I wanted to bring that up because that's exactly what I wanted you to say. And we've all three of us had.
I'm just gonna sip my water.
Yeah, you sip it. We've all three had this conversation so many times, but it's just so frustrating when well, first to backtrack. I totally understand what you're saying because like I've told Francis and I've told you this, like I hate like putting stuff out there contrary to what some people might believe, because I mean now I'm doing it a little bit more, but it's like to me that it gives off that like almost like a pretentious, like self-absorbed vibe, but it's you almost have to do that now. And then the second part, like talking about these people, I mean, like French and I know like we're like pursuing this with a passion, like we're taking steps. This is like our career, and then like now everyone has a fitness page attached to their normal account, and then they're like, this is the only way you can do this, and you have to follow my way or the highway. And it's just like exhausting to see as someone who like dedicates like their life to this.
Take it with a grain of salt too. Like there's something you can. I truly feel like, and we can go off on a tangent and talk shit about people all we want, and that's not what I want to do. But like, there's something that you can learn from everyone.
Right.
It doesn't matter what stage or phase that they're in their journey.
Right.
But like I would just say pick and choose. If it's based around a specific company or thing, I would probably avoid it a little bit more. If it's saying that you have to take this product, wear this accessory, wear these leggings or these sweatpants, this hoodie, then I'd probably stay away from it. I feel like there's definitely a lot of genuine people out there, and like even the people that are associated with a supplement company or with a clothing brand or a fitness app or exercise equipment company or a gym. Like I feel like everyone wants to help people.
Yeah.
But like you gotta like almost take like a personal agenda out of it.
Yeah.
And really make sure that what you're posting and the content and the things that you're doing is helping other people versus just feeding your ego or feeding likes, follows, clicks, views. Because I feel like that's one of the things that like I hate about social media so much is, the things that get the views are are extreme.
Yeah.
So like it's like now the things that are getting views are people pulling big weights, which I love that. I love seeing like big numbers hit. But now these kids are like week after week after week trying to pull big numbers, hit PRs instead of build, test. They're testing, and you see more and more people getting injured.
Yeah.
Or you see people getting on SARMs or hormones or even anabolics at a young age because they want to be the biggest jack person in the gym or in their grade or in school or whatever it is. When that, good fucking luck, in your 30s, to do something like that. Or you see, guys, wearing around the gym, their shirts off, or girls hiking their leggings all the way up, and you can see their camel toe or whatever, and they're in their crack. Which, if you want to do that, cool. If you got it, flaunt it. But like, make sure that's actually you, and you're not just doing it, hiking the leggings up or taking your shirt off for one set, putting it back on. No, like, you better have that thing off for the whole freaking workout,
Yeah.
like, because you want to, because you're comfortable, not because you just do it for views and attention. But like, I think as a society, we kind of feed into that. You know, you get when I first signed up on TikTok for the gym page, like all I saw, I seriously thought TikTok was just fuckboys and girls shaking their ass. That was the only, and that's the only thing that popped up, and I'm like my wife would see like my TikTok, and she'd be like, "What the hell are you watching?" I'm like, "I don't know, like I don't even know how to work this thing yet. Like I'm just like trying to figure it out, and that's all you see because that's how the algorithm is playing into it because of all the views and attention it's getting." So instead of getting real good quality content, I feel like we're just seeing a lot of people's highlight reel instead of just a realism. So
Yeah.
No, that.
I mean, that's that's social media like in a nutshell. Like people don't show the lowlights; they show the highlights, and it sucks. Like it's the best and the worst thing about social media. Like anyone with an iPhone can literally get like internet famous just because they look a certain way or they like polarizing stuff sells. Like if you're like bland and in the middle, which often is the stuff that actually works over the long term.
yeah, that's me.
Yeah, like the simple shit that works.
My 3 views per video.
Yeah, but like because it's not, radical or polarizing, people don't want to see that. And it's probably because, it just doesn't stand out. And unfortunately, anyone with decent genetics and or an ass full of steroids can make you think that they're, a doctor when really they're just,
And I'm gonna say I'm guilty of it as the next person.
Yeah, I think we all are to an extent.
It's not judgment. And I will have to say like 2 things that I have to say here is I love the stuff that you guys have been posting. Like you've been killing it with just content after content after content. A little jealous because some of the shit that you're talking about is stuff that I've wanted to talk about and I just haven't gotten around to it.
Hey,
That's
Fuck you.
Hey, everybody talks about the same shit.
I know,
It's just
you're
how you
not
package it.
wrong. You're not wrong. But
fuck
no,
you, French.
Yeah. No, I love it. And the fact that like I've known you guys for a good amount of time, and I know you're in it for the right reason. Like even the podcast, you don't make anything off of this.
Hey, we get like $12 pending on
Dude, good.
Anchor ad. Talk to me nice. Sponsor us.
We're gonna come in with Louis Vuitton mics next time we're here.
Sure.
Just
Lululemon,
pull up.
whatever that sponsor.
I don't think that's the same.
All right. Yeah, whatever you want to call it.
But so like you guys are doing it for the right reason, giving good quality content. Like you have a variety of different exercise and a lot of nutrition and more scientific. And I'm not saying scientific, but like a lot of stuff that both of you guys have, because I'd say is more scientific and Jesus Christ, scientific and factual based stuff. Where a lot of like the stuff I do is bro science, honestly, just because I don't have a formal education in this. Like I'm in school for business and marketing, like not for fitness at all. And like a lot of the stuff that you do is really good, like because you post like, hey, my top 3 tricep exercises or whatever this is, and it's a lot of exercise related stuff. You don't really, I can tell your passion. Your passion is more in the movement and fitness, and yours is kind of like an overall whole. But it almost looks like you want to dig more into the nutrition and almost like mindset aspect of it.
Yeah. I mean,
Sorry to cut you off, but I think it's good. I mean, because we're talking about these people who we don't think do it the right way, but I think it's good that you're providing a perspective for someone who's actually going out and doing it. I mean, you have competitive experience in bodybuilding. I mean, you have experience with all of this stuff, but like what I think, to go back to like you're talking about, you have to take it with a grain of salt. I think not all people have bad intentions. So like when they're posting this stuff that might not be like scientifically backed or whatever it is, that's not really the stuff that bothers me. It's the people that say this is the only way you can do this, or the people who, like French said, they might be genetically gifted, or they might be on something, and I mean they're starting to push stuff. And like you said, like I know because like I helped out at a high school before. These kids are on TikTok. Like I know, like they're seeing that, like you said, with people pulling big numbers. They're trying to go to the gym and pull big numbers every day. They're talking about SARS. They're talking about, you got to do this to get big, and like that's the stuff that can be harmful.
They asked me about it.
Yeah.
I own a supplement store, so like, hey, like, do you? do you have anything for like muscle? And I'm like, yeah. Couple of things. Like I like getting pill stuff or like
shots. Yes.
What kind of pills you look for? Like, do you guys do like SARMs or pro hormones? Like, if they like, and oftentimes they don't have the courage to ask for it directly. So I'll be like, hey, I have like this muscle builder, this, and but then usually my follow up is, how much are you eating? Oh, I eat a lot. Okay, cool. What's a lot? Oh, I eat breakfast, cereal, and then I eat lunch at school, and then I go
Peanut butter
home.
jelly sandwich.
Yeah, I go home and eat supper. Cool. What else? Oh, that's it. But I eat a lot. I'm like, no, you don't. Like, you want to get bigger, you want to grow, like, you got like double that.
They also went to bed at 2 a.m. because they were watching TikTok too.
Yeah.
Oh, I see that too. It's like, oh yeah, like, I don't like saying this. I don't want to pick on anyone, but like, I'll see people like, they come in here cracked out, 16 years old, 17 years old, cracked out pre-workout. They'll come in, buy an energy drink, like, yeah, I'm gonna drink this tonight. I'm like, hello. It's fucking 6 o'clock at night. Why are you drinking an energy drink on a school night for?
I didn't know people did that until I went to college and I roomed with a guy who could drink a Monster or a Bang at like 8 p.m. But he was also a night owl. But it just bad.
Well, I could do that and go to sleep, but I guarantee, like, even though I slept, I guarantee my sleep was really shit.
Yeah.
So like, I still try to, even now, like, unless I'm really dragging. Like today, I had an energy drink at 2 o'clock because I knew we were doing this.
Yeah.
Honestly. So I kind of pushed it back. But if I have caffeine, I try to not have caffeine even afternoon.
Yeah.
Right.
Unless I know I'm out doing something.
That's what I try to do.
So, and like, I don't think it's it's the people's fault that do this. I just don't think we're educating people well enough. Like,
well,
I want to go back on something really quick. Even like the people that are like pushing, clothing or pushing supplements or a program or this or that, I don't even necessarily think it's their fault. I think it's the companies that they're getting wrapped up into and tied up into. They're really good at marketing and saying like, oh, this is the only way to lose weight, or this, just like what you're saying, like this, you have to have this product to be able to bench this much weight, or you have to have this belt or this supplement. It's like, that's not right. Like you need to focus on the training first. You need to focus on the nutrition first. Everything else is supplementary. Like the gear is supplementary, like gear as in equipment is supplementary. The supplements obviously are supplementary. So, but
yeah, and I don't like I said, I don't blame a lot of the people because like I went through the same thing where like I was doing crazy workouts when I was like a freshman in high school, and I wanted to try all these supplements. So it's not like it's their fault, but it's a lot of the time it's what we push because that's the stuff, that's the flair, that's more exciting. So the frustrating part, like me and French have talked about this as like, I hate to even say this, but as like content creators, or at least people that put out content that we want it to be somewhat educational, is you want it to have some merit and you still want it to grab people's eye, but that's really hard to do when you're just selling stuff that's very, like, people don't want to hear that, oh, that's what you have to do to get better. Well, you have to work hard. And they're like, well, what's the shortcut though?
Yeah, everyone wants a pill, but like, and I'm not saying you can't take the pill.
Yeah.
But just make sure you're dotting all your T's and crossing all your I's. Yes, I said that backwards. Just make sure you're doing all your due diligence. Make sure your eating is on point. It's not like eating is hard, to like try to get in enough calories, but you're gonna just waste your money and spin your wheels if you don't eat enough. Yeah. Same thing if you don't sleep enough. Same thing if you don't train enough or train too much. Like I think a lot of people actually work out way too much than they really need to be. You see people in the gym 7 days a week, like drop that down to like 4, maybe 5, and I think you're gonna see a lot more results just from strength or even size, just because your body's able to actually rest and recover. Right. So like do those 3 things first, and then maybe take like a muscle growth supplement. Like there's a lot of natural supplements. Me being a natural for now, just I'm not trying to push like the natural stuff, but like at a young age, like a lot of things can fuck with your hormones.
Oh yeah.
So do like the more natural stuff. Like some of the stuff that works better than like some of the crap that you buy illegally anymore. Like and then it's all plant-based stuff that's all natural, non-hormonal. Helps, there's proven research and studies versus, the SARMs or the pros that are mixed up in some dude's bathtub in Russia. So it's just, do your due diligence and do everything you can and maybe run with it for like a year or so and then start taking something at that point.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a problem with people taking steroids or people marketing themselves. Like, as long as you're not lying about it. Like,
don't fake it.
Yeah, don't fake it. Like, own up to it. Okay. Like, you probably still look better than 99% of people. Like,
yeah, if I ever hop on, you're gonna fucking know it.
Yeah, like, just be upfront and honest. Like, no, you're not fooling anybody.
And also, I mean, I think there's a time and place. I think a lot of people who, again, I don't think this is bad. Like, you can do whatever you want with your own body, but there's a lot of people who are like, I want to get on, but they don't have any real long-term ambition with some of this stuff. They really just want the quick fix. And, again, you can do whatever you want, but I don't know.
Think long-term when it comes to, yeah.
What are you going to do when you're 25, 30 years old and you're no longer lifting, you're no longer on it, and you feel like shit, you look like shit because your body doesn't produce its own natural hormones, and then you get married, and then you can barely get your dick hard as it is to have sex because your test is so crashed, and then your wife wants a kid, but you can't because you don't have the ability to reproduce anymore. Like, there's a lot of things that like people don't take into consideration. I mean, at least wait until your mid-20s, late 30s. I'm not saying like do it, but like, or at least do it. If you're gonna do it the right way. Go through a hormone clinic, go through a doctor, go through a coach that's done it, like, because a reputable coach that's done it, and help people, if you are gonna do something like that. But
and like you said before, make sure you have your X's and O's crossed off. Make sure you got your T's and cross your eyes.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's so many other. I mean,
and if you go to a
reputable place, that's what they'll tell you. I mean, they're gonna be like, well, is your sleeping checked? Like, they're gonna check those things off first.
Yeah.
So,
a lot of these coaches, anyways, that that coach like the top bodybuilders or powerlifters, whatever. A lot of times they don't even have the drug talk with them. Like, they'll be like, it's usually in the questionnaire when you work with a coach, like, are you taking any PEDs, like before standard drugs? But you say yes, you say no. But the coach a lot of times doesn't like say, hey, you're natural. Like, the only way that you're going to be competitive in the NPC or the USPA or UPA or whatever is if you take a bunch of Halo and test or something like that. It's a lot of times a shitty coach would tell you to get on drugs and mask everything with drugs. But like a good coach would say, hey, let's do as much with as little as possible and get as much natural results naturally as we can. If you want to make that jump, then that's on you. Then that's when they can probably take over like the protocol and stuff like that. But at least from what I've seen from people I know that I've talked to, but
yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. So kind of backtracking on like, obviously as a business owner, you have to market to some extent, right? I mean, whatever you do, whatever platforms, I'm kind of with you on the social media. I do it because I know it's going to produce, there's more pros than cons for what I want to do, but it's not.
You can help more people.
Yeah, it's not the best thing in the world, but I do it because it's a net positive. Like, I didn't even create my Instagram until I think I was like a junior in high school, which was, some kids are getting it when they're in like 6th grade. So like, because I feel like,
I was like 25.
I would say, yeah, who am I talking about? I think like, you see all these like ads and like spam and stuff like that, and it makes you believe like marketing is almost kind of like this taboo, bad word that like you shouldn't do it. But at the end, like if you want to help more people, you can only help as many people as who know about you. So like, how do you think you can market yourself ethically, if you will? Like, what do you think that comes down to? Because I mean, there's people like me and Nolan were just talking about this, like, oh, like what platforms should we focus on for content? And like, some of them. Exactly. That's what some of the people will be like, all of them. But at the end of the day, some of these like, influencer moguls, they have a team of people that literally like helps them post content multiple times a day on literally every single platform.
Videographers.
Yeah, like let's get back to the real word for us normal folks. Like we probably can't handle that right away. So like how can you like market yourself in an ethical way if you actually want to help people?
The way I like to do it, and I don't necessarily know if it's the best way or not, is I just try to be as genuine as possible. I try to let everyone know, like, and this isn't an act or anything, but like, I'm just a normal freaking person. I'm making this up as I go. This fitness thing, this business thing, the marketing thing. Fortunately, it's worked so far. But so I just think show people the raw stuff. I don't like to over edit my images, my videos. I don't care if things are a little rough around the edges because people are going to have more respect to that. They're also going to be able to relate to it a little bit more. So that kind of comes to my next topic is you want to be relatable. People, if I was like, 1% body fat walking around the gym with my shirt off doing exercise saying you need to do this, like, yeah, it's gonna get views and people are gonna be impressed, probably impressing the wrong people. But when you see your average person, the first thing they're gonna think of is, oh, I don't want to go there, I don't want to do that because I don't want to look like that, I don't want to be around people that look like that. So you need to be relatable and do things, talk in a way where you're not talking over someone. You're not using big, elaborate phrases or terminology or words. It's simplifying things, not because people aren't educated. It's just easier to digest and understand. So that's the thing that I try to do. But also you gotta do things to switch it up, be relevant. Stay consistent regardless of if you're doing YouTube, which it's hard. It's hard. It's hard. Like
none of us are consistent.
No.
Like YouTube.
I have a YouTube channel and I haven't posted anything on it for a few years probably.
Same.
So like I was like, yeah, I'm full-time business owner. I'm gonna get back into YouTube. I'm gonna get back into this. Like I had a pretty decent sized YouTube channel for a while. It wasn't my personal one. It was for something else stupid that we did in college. But so it was like a food eating YouTube, and so, but we were consistent. We did some crazy shit, a lot of stupid stuff, and it got a lot of views, and that was it. Like, but we didn't have a lot of videos. But it's just staying consistent, being relatable, speaking in a way where like people can understand and is concise, and just being genuine and just being true to yourself and like what you believe in, and not cross over boundaries. I personally think that you shouldn't be too do too many things that are going to be like against, I don't want to say against the grain, because I think it's great to like bring up topics or bring up conversations that either not a lot of people are doing, or that might be contrary to popular belief. Like I could tell you, 20 reasons why you don't need to ever take a fat burner in your life. So that's something like, even though I own a supplement store and I sell fat burners, you don't have to take it. You don't have to do, certain specific things, but it's just something that like a lot of people when they need to lose weight, they're like, oh, I have to take a product for it, back to that. But so just different things like that you can kind of introduce people and discuss. But
yeah, I think that's really important. And I also think sharing other good content too, because it's all like, I learned a little bit about this in marketing. Like there's too much stuff out there.
Yes.
Everyone and their mother has a podcast now. So there's too much stuff out there. So what I like to do too is share as much good content as I can, because if people aren't, getting like what they want from me, they can get a good idea of it from another person, and then they say, hey, like we're at least like-minded, I like this person. And just like supporting other people like who are trying to produce good content too, I think is important too.
Yeah, that kind of goes back to what I was saying, like be relatable, but also be someone that people can trust.
Right.
And I meant to bring that up earlier, is there is so much on the internet. Like, yeah, you can, when someone comes to me like, I've had people ask before, like, hey, you know, what's the best way to do this exercise, best exercise for this, or best diet or whatever. And like, I might give them my opinion. And I've had other people over here have these conversations, like, well, why don't they just fucking Google it? It's like, you go on Google, you get 50 pages of answers. Like, they, you know, someone's coming